What is up, geeks and geekettes? It's another edition of the Countdown City Geekcast. My name is Ted, aka Steady, and joining me on this Five Nights at Freddy's movie review is one and only Retro Ray.
What's going on, guys? Let's grab the pizza. Start talking.
Absolutely. This has been a long time coming for those who have been playing the games since the first video game, just the original, the OG Five Nights at Freddy's. Has been a long time, and then this movie has been 8 years in the making, and fans have been going through this roller coaster. Is it going to come out? Is it getting shelved? Did they cancel it? We went from like some teasers to like no news for long stretches, and then the last year or so we've been getting little photos from Scott Cawthon, from Jim Henson's Creature Shop, just the best in the business. When they got involved, oh my gosh, I got all excited. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, we're going that route? We're bringing in the big guns? Yeah, exactly, right? So it's finally come. We've seen it. We're here to talk about it. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. But this is just kind of our take. I think I've played a few of the games, not all of them, like half of them. Ray, I don't know if you've played any of the games, but I know you're familiar with the franchise a little bit. My son's played more games, and so I get a ton of information through him. But I also did a lot of research in the months leading up to this, and so I have a lot to say about not only what this movie is, but what this movie could have been, and my thoughts about the franchise as a whole. And I'm going to talk about that at the end of this video. But Ray, I want to start with you, man. Before we talk about the story, before we get into the details, just your general overview, how you felt walking out of the theater. Let us know.
Okay, so from someone who didn't play the video game and only knew just what I heard from like my nephews and stuff like that, I was kind of like, why are these kids so intrigued into this game and these characters? Going into the movie, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't do any research, of course. Um, but from what I saw, and now, mind you, I don't know the backstory, but from what I saw in the special effects, that I did enjoy. A lot of people were asking, how is this, PG-13, not rated R. I kind of explained to them, you can have so many cuss words, you can have only so much blood. That's how it determines what falls under rated R, when it falls under PG-13. Overall, I mean, it was more than what I expected. I kind of liked it. It left me thinking a lot towards the end. But overall, for someone who didn't play the game, for someone who didn't, know much, I'd actually watch a second movie. You know what I mean? So it was very entertaining.
I also agree. It was entertaining. I was sort of like on the edge, kind of soaking everything in, every new detail. If you know the games, if you know the lore, you understand like everything could mean something. Every bit of detail, every piece of new information can be a hook that leads to something else. And so I was like, trying to soak in as much as possible, looking in the background for anything that might show up. There's like in the video games right now, there's so many puzzles that people are trying to unravel and solve, and I'm like, okay, nobody's done it yet, and people might know what I'm talking about. So maybe the movie's going to be the clue that helps us. So I was just sort of anticipating every new thing that kind of came around and came across. I like our main character. Well, as a whole, the movie is enjoyable. I liked it. It was good. Um, I will say that it met my expectations, and I wanted to for the movie to show me something I didn't anticipate and didn't expect. It We didn't go there, but I was hopeful for it. So maybe it's not a huge knock on the movie, but it gave me everything that I expected to get. And so for that I say It's good. It lived up to that expectation, but I wanted to kind of feel something new, see something new. But I understand also that there are people like yourself. You haven't played the games, you don't know about the books, maybe. You haven't spent hours trying to solve puzzles in online, or solve riddles and whatever else. So yeah, I think it's a great first step. It's going to bring everybody on the same page, and I was always wondering, how are they going to pull this off? Let's go back to day one, the first game. It's a very simple mechanic game. You're sort of at the security desk. We see our main character, Mike, no last name, at a security desk for some parts of this movie. We see somebody at the beginning of this movie. Talk more about that in a second. And that's what you do in the game. You set a security desk. You're controlling, and you're watching over this old rundown pizzeria, and these animatronics come to life. In that game, you're trying to keep them at bay. You're closing doors. You're trying to survive throughout the night. There's basically a time limit. If you can hear all the cues, anticipate where they pop up, working within the mechanics of the game and the rules that is established, if you survive all 5 nights, you win the game. Sounds pretty simple, but try it, and it's a lot different. The game, and I know I'm talking about the game too much, but the game does a fantastic job of establishing this very eerie environment. Like you get the ominous tones, and you hear the sort of disembodied voices down the halls, and stuff like that, and it's all super creepy. It's meant to be. It's the experience that you anticipate when you're going to like a haunted house, for example. That feeling and that tone is set. I will say, I wanted more of that in this movie. I wanted more eeriness. This film, the set was super detailed. It looked elaborate. Applause and shout out to the set designers, because from when I learned about this, they built the entire pizzeria in an old rundown Home Depot. So it wasn't a soundstage per se, but they utilized this old building, and so yeah, they did all that. Super detailed, super awesome the way it looked, but it didn't completely match the eeriness of the games. Like I've never, and I know it's tough thing to establish because there's multiple things that are supposed to happen. The lighting, the ominous tones that I talked about, sort of the way the cameras are shot, the angles, the cinematography, all of those things have to play into it to kind of give you the sense of not being at ease, this uneasiness about what's happening in the scene. I wanted to get that. I wanted to feel that, and I think everything was expected. You saw a character, you're like, oh, we don't know you. You're gonna die. So there was a lot less of like this impending doom, or this sense of like, oh, what's gonna happen, because it almost was too predictable in that sense. Can't fault it though, but I still wanted to be maybe not shocked, but I wanted to be surprised about what was going to happen next. The game is known for its jump scares. It's the king of jump scares, the video game. So this movie had like a handful, right? 4 or 5 jump scares. A few of those were like really, really good. And so yeah, I think in that regard, I liked what they did with the set pieces and all that. I think that this movie is probably aimed at a younger audience than what I'm expecting. I mean, they don't come out and say it, right? They don't come out and say, "Oh, this is a movie for kids," or "This is a movie for teens," or "This is a movie for youth." It felt like it was going to be sort of a movie for all audiences, but I feel like it is aimed and geared towards a younger audience, which is, when you think about it, expected. So maybe that's why, as far as eeriness and tone goes, maybe that's why it's not at a level 10 and they have it like at a level 6, 6.5. I don't know if you felt that way, but talk to us more about the story. Like, I know the story. Tell us about the story, because I am eager to find out. Does this story make sense, or is it just bonkers? And I want to hear your thoughts about that.
So, well, quick question now. What I want to ask is on your part,
Yeah.
since you know a little bit more, was how accurate was the set to the game? Like
Oh,
the
I mean, I want to say super accurate. The game is sort of like 8-bit. So how can I put this? The set, the security room of the game, you don't see the whole thing. You're stationary. You only see like
where your
180
head
degrees
turns.
of it. Yeah. And
Okay,
so the the way the game is played is not how they made the movie,
of
because
course, yeah.
you're at a desk. There's like a glass window, and the you have buttons that drop these like metal like safety doors. And so I was like, are you gonna put this in the movie? Because I could see how those things would be far fetched. But so in the movie, you don't have the glass window in the front, because you see them passing all the time. They'll pass in front of that window, or they'll just pop up, stuff like that. All really great things. So when
Okay,
it comes to like the pizzeria, you don't see a highly detailed version of it. You get to play like mini games, and like you see 8-bit renditions of this pizzeria, what it used to look like old style video game graphics. And so it's hard to say like, oh, it's exactly how it should be,
gotcha.
but
Okay,
all the main details, got it. Perfect.
okay, okay. No, I mean, story wise, like I said, I didn't know much about the story. It kind of, for me, being a horror buff is like you, um, I I kind of took it in, and I was like, it kind of reminded me of Freddy to an extent, because they play that one song always before. I forgot the name of the song, but they play that song, and it's kind of like hearing the kids in the background singing. And when you hear the one, two,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Freddy's come, you already know something's coming, and
Yeah.
that's when you hear them playing that certain song. Same premise, um, but it was cool because it stayed, retro because it's taking place. I've heard, because I've been talking to some other people as well, and I've heard them say that it goes further back other than just the 80s. It's not just like the 80s, it goes further back. Um,
There's
it
those
kind of got me.
they're still exploring
Go
that,
ahead.
yeah.
Okay. Well, to me, I'm wondering if this was like a test of the waters, because this is Blumhouse's first movie that they've actually made this much money on, out of the gate. You know what I mean? So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure they were trying to see, hey, is this going to be a flop? Is this, especially with what's going on with movies nowadays? So I think they wanted to see what they're testing the waters, and they saw what people liked and didn't like. And I think if we get, from what I got from it, if we get a second one, I think we're gonna see more of the jump scares that you were wanting in part two. That's my opinion from what I got from taking in the story.
Mm.
Because there's a couple of scenes in there. Are we doing spoiler free or spoiler?
Spoilers, baby. You've
Okay.
had a weekend. This is your warning. If you don't want to get spoiled, please just pause this video, come back after you see it, and hear what we gotta say, and give us your thoughts on it as well. But you can, what you're about to say, go for it. And then
Okay.
domestically
I was
over the
gonna.
weekend, 80 million. Worldwide,
Yeah.
132 million. Not bad for a movie that probably cost them less than 20 or 40 million. Yeah.
Yeah, so can you imagine if they would have put more money into it next time and go the way the jump scares and all that? But getting back to what you're saying, so there's a thing that popped my head towards the end. So this is just my brain running off here.
Yeah.
I want to get your opinion. That little character with the balloon, the clown that popped up in the locker and then popped up in the cab at the end.
We call him Balloon Boy.
My the Yeah, Balloon Boy. So my thing is, I'm wondering, is that his brother?
Ooh,
You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
Because we never see what happened to his brother. We know that what happened, that he did take him, and each of the characters that's basically each of those child that were taken. So my thing is, we never see his brother. And then, of course, if you stay to the end, there's a very, very end. There's something that kind of caters to the game. I'm wondering, is that the brother saying that? Because technically, we don't know what happened to him.
Ton of theories. Ton of
Yeah.
theories. It could be the brother. Um, it could be a number of things. It could be like the big bad for the next one,
Oh, dang.
which fans of the game can speculate like who might be the focus of the next movie. Um, there's a song that plays at the end of the credits, and that's like a theme for one of the characters, a puppet, sort of like a marionette-looking puppet known as the Crying Child. Wait, what?
Oh, was that the one that was on the floor in that one room they were trying to put her in?
No, that that's a character from a book.
Oh, okay.
There's a marionette with like really long arms. I think they just called the puppet. It's just called the puppet. And but fans have speculated. Oof! See, this is too much stuff to talk about. In the game, this all started when the restaurant closed because one of the animatronics bit a kid, and that kid is known as the Crying Child. That's what the kid is called. And later on, we would meet this puppet that looks like a marionette, which has this mask with no eyes, and it looks like it's crying. So people would attribute it to the Crying Child. So that's why I said that. Come Find Me, which is at the end of this movie, can be
Yeah.
the bad guy. It could be this puppet. It could be Garrett, the brother that we lose in this movie or that we learn that is lost in this movie. Um, we'll see, man. I was wondering how we were gonna get these flashbacks because the trailers gave away that we're gonna see these kid ghosts in their like human form. That's not part of the game, not really. So how are they gonna do that? Dreams. Our main character Mike, he's dealing with his trauma by having these dreams to kind of learn new information about his younger brother's abduction, which is a heavy scenario. Like that's a heavy story. Even if there's no like graphic scenes in that, just you feel the weight of that at least, and how it takes a toll on this character. All really good stuff, and using these dreams to sort of manifest and communicate with these ghosts. That was wild. I actually really enjoyed that part. I'm like, okay, that's really cool. Um, Still, I'm gonna keep saying it. I definitely want the scariness level to go up. Trust me, I get that. Like, this is aimed at a younger audience. However, I saw Haunted Mansion like a few months ago when it came out, and I kid you not, like that's borderline not a kids movie. Like the jump scares and the intensity of some levels are pretty. They're up there, man. And I'm like, whoa, this is almost too much for. I have a 4-year-old daughter. I'm like, oh, we could see Haunted Mansion. We saw the first one with Eddie Murphy. No big deal. No, I was wrong. I was like, ooh, do we take her out right now? She's fine today, so we made it through. Even like Toy Story 3, or was it 2? When they're in the furnace, that was 3, right? When the
Yeah.
toys are in the furnace, the intensity of that scene, I'm like, this is borderline not a kids movie. Maybe we should like think about what we put in here. I would say we can up the ante on all the scariness, all the intensity. I don't want to say they played it too safe, but I feel like there was room for improvement on how maybe not dark. Like you don't want to see all the graphicness. There was one scene, I'm talking about. There's a girl. Her name is Max. She gets bit in half by Freddy. There's no, you don't see the whole thing, you don't see the details or anything, but you see the shadow of it happening, and that's enough. It's enough just to imply what happens, and you hear everybody in the crowd, "Ooh, oh my God, oh that was awesome," Um, I think more of that, less of like guy rolling on the floor with a cupcake on his face. Um, but there is a level of cheesiness to this franchise, and I completely understand that portion. And so it is supposed to play like, an 80s horror movie. There is some cheesiness, there is some foolishness that happens, but also you're supposed to take it seriously. So, like you mentioned earlier, Freddy Krueger, it can be like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the difference is, though, our Freddy Krueger is uh, the man in the yellow suit, the bunny suit,
Yeah.
and we don't know we're supposed to be scared of him until the last 10 minutes, right? Maybe if there's a way, and I might do the video later on like things I would want to fix in this movie. Not that the movie's horrible, not that it's bad, but things I'd want to fix. We need to know about this big bad guy sooner. We need to be scared of him sooner. I don't feel like we have enough to be frightened about. The stakes. Where are the stakes at? That kind of thing. I don't know. But the whole concept of like abducted children taking on these animatronics and bringing them to life, like that all like played cool to you. It wasn't like too far fetched.
No, because like I said, it reminded me of Nightmare on Elm Street
Oh,
because you get the thing where he's dreaming, right? He's dreaming, and then he feels like he gets, hit in the arm, and he wakes up. He's bleeding. Kind of the same premise like a Nightmare on Elm Street. He's dreaming, but I think it's a combination of the spirits talking to him in the dream, and then him getting cut, and then waking up and having the cut on his arm. That's how I took it, as it was kind of that in between the ghosts, the paranormal, kind of like I like watching this paranormal stuff as well, where you get people going exploring haunted houses, and then they they feel something, and then they have a red mark on their arm or the back or whatever in their shirt. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
That's kind of that's what I kind of got from it. So I kind of like that. It was kind of the paranormal to an extent, because it is kind of like, okay, the little girl can see dead people to an extent. And the whole time we think that's her imaginary friend, but she's actually talking to spirits to a certain extent. That's what I took from it. I don't know. Did you take that from that? Is that?
It was interesting. I feel like I feel like she could have had imaginary friends that got replaced by these animatronics. Like her imaginary friend wasn't one of the kid ghosts, right? Right?
Well, but see, she was doing all the drawings, and remember, the brother goes back to the house.
I didn't see any drawings. Maybe you did. I didn't see any drawings of like the pizzeria or the kid ghosts until after she visited. Or did you spot some before? Because you've seen this one time, two times.
2 times. So there's a couple of scenes in there where you see her drawing, and he sees, you know, because that's the thing they talk about, that she spends too much time drawing, and you need to look at the pictures is what they're kind of hinting at. And when he goes back and looks at her pictures, he sees like, well, who are these kids? And then he starts putting two and two together, like, hey, these are the kids in my dream. So it's kind of hard to tell if those were actually there before or after. I couldn't tell because it was kind of like it was when she was in school. You know what I mean? But that's how I took it, is that she kept on drawing these pictures of the people around her in the house, whatever. Um,
I have to watch it again. I
yeah,
think
I'm gonna, like I said, yeah, because there's a lot to take in. That's why I said it makes you think.
yeah, I think she draws pictures and then she visited the pizzeria, and then after that she started drawing the kids because she knew of them, and he put two and two together that, oh, my dreams, she sees these kids after the pizzeria but not before. So I didn't take it as like she was talking to them before. That would be even weirder, and that would not. I don't want to say that would be weirder, but then that definitely makes us go down the rabbit hole even more. And then fans of the franchise are already going to theorize that there's more to this family, Mike and Abby, and his parents. There's more to the house they live in. I'm just gonna say, the sky is the limit on what they can do with this stuff. Um, I I wanted more deaths. I mean, we only got what? We only got security guard at the beginning. We got the break-in people. What? Four of them? Five? That's five total. And then we got the ant. So six. I feel like. Oh, I don't know, man. I definitely wanted more deaths, and or maybe more spread out, because I guess we go really long moments of like no, people getting slaughtered. I guess, but again, this is probably geared towards a younger audience, and if that's the case, then I concede, right? But I would have maybe had one thing I would change. The first security guard, Mister No Name, I think his name was Fitz or something, maybe. I don't know. Make him do the game stuff, because I feel like this movie at some point needed us to tie the game to this movie using the mechanics of like, oh, animatronics are after me. Let me lock. I guess they tried to do that, but it's not like the game. Let me lock these doors. Let me lock myself in this office. And I guess he did do that, but it doesn't feel like the game felt. You know what I mean? And I that's the challenge. I'm not saying they did it wrong. I'm saying that's the challenge. The game and what you do, you don't get any of the story, by the way. Like, you don't get any characters, anything like that. You're one guy, you're being attacked, and you gotta survive, and that's it. There's no additional characters. You're just spoon fed. There's all this elaborate things that you go through and you see, but you have to sort of use your own imagination to what they mean, the things that they tell you.
Well, there's a lot of opportunity I see that they can do if they play it right. Like Saw, for example. We saw Saw, we think, oh, he's dead, whatever, but then they have all these flashbacks of before what happened and how he did what he did. So I can see, or I would like to see, more backstory on how he abducted the kids, how he incorporated them into the suits. And that's where I think we can get the more goriness to a certain extent. That's if they go that route. Because, like I said, if they do go that route, then it's going to be a lot more. It's not going to fall in that category for younger kids, kind of.
Yeah.
It would be more for the adult side. But if they go that route, it could be like The Nun or Saw to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Is that kind of what you wanted? Like that kind of premise?
I just think we have to go a little bit darker. It doesn't have to get, we don't have to go. I saw Exorcist Believer, this fall, last month, and it doesn't have to go that far. We don't need to see, demons and possessions and all that stuff to that extent. The gore doesn't have to be to that extent. It doesn't have to be that graphic in nature. But even like, let's be honest, the original Exorcist, you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. By today's standards, not very graphic, right?
No.
No. I mean, you're not seeing people's heads being ripped off. We have Saw movies now. That's graphic stuff. People being peeled apart and stabbed a million times and whatever else. The Exorcist, the original, not graphic by comparison to today's standards.
Yeah.
However, What it does succeed in is that eeriness and that intensity level. People are scared of what they don't know. They are
True.
terrified of what they don't know, the unexpected. Anticipating what's happening next, and it is a cinematic achievement that they can do so much. Even still today, I still watch that movie and I'm like, it's terrifying, even though it's not nearly as graphic as anything we watch today. You know what I
So I got to
mean?
ask.
So
So,
it's
okay.
I want more of that. Give us the eeriness, the intensity, the tension of the scene needs to, make us, grab our armchairs and stuff like that. I don't think there's any point in this movie where I felt that way, where the eeriness of the situation, was getting at me. It was almost played too straight. Every scene kind of played too straight. It doesn't make it a bad film, I think, but even if this is geared towards a younger audience, I still feel like we have room to grow. They just released a new Goosebumps series on Disney Plus,
Yeah,
and
that was
it's
darker.
darker, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
I just talked about Haunted Mansion. This reboot, darker, eerier, more intense, more tension. So I think that we need to give the younger audience a little bit more credit. They can handle more. They watch and they play video games like Five Nights at Freddy's, which are meant to scare the living hell out of them, and jump scare them until they shut their computers or their phones off. So yeah, we there's more room to expand in that realm, in that department.
So let me ask you this. So would you kind of want what we saw in VHS 1985?
Yeah, I mean
That
that
type of goriness with the type of suspense where we don't know.
absolutely,
Is that kind of
absolutely.
what you're?
It really
Because
just gets back to a core element of horror. I mean,
yeah,
it's not show me, it's make me anticipate. It's not, scare me by showing me the worst thing you could possibly imagine. It's scare us by making us anticipate what the worst thing that could possibly happen is. You know what I mean? It's more about the anticipation than it is about what you're showing us on the screen. And they tried a few things. I remember there's a scene where you see Chica, walking by a window, ever so slowly, and that's a great sort of mimicking of the video game. And I'm like, cool, more of that, please. It's tough. You have to be a little bit more creative with the cinematography, with the angles that you're filming, with the lighting of the scene. It felt like things were too bright. I mean, this is a rundown pizzeria, right? I mean, we're looking at the animatronics right here. Does it look like they've been in a closed facility for years or maybe a decade or so? I felt like they looked a little too fresh. Like a little bit more decayed to them, I think would have been good. Something to make them slightly more scarier. Um, that's just me.
see, now that you're mentioning it, I'm kind of thinking about it. If they would have filmed certain scenes, kind of like VHS 1985, where you know what I'm talking about, like where you know how back in the day the old security cameras used to be, where they
Oh
were
yeah,
kind of. So if they were to do some of those scenes, like us seeing those type of chases through the security camera footage, that's what I think I would have liked to see. Like when they're being chased down the hallway, instead of seeing it through their eyes, we actually are watching it from the video camera aspect.
yeah. And they tried that a few times, right?
Yeah,
But it's always short. It's always too
yeah,
short. I it is interesting. I again, the movie's a success already.
yeah. It's
It
great.
only cost 20 million. That's around there, right? We don't know marketing and all that. So 20 million, let's say, possibly, let's just double that just in case. 40 million. Domestically over the weekend, 80 million. Worldwide, 132 million. It's already more than made its budget, including marketing. And it's such a beloved franchise. So there's so much more out there you can do. Um, I think, though, people will appreciate more tension in the scenes, more intensity of what's happening in the action, and a little bit less about the story. And I only say that because in the video games, the focus is not the story. The focus is most definitely survival. And how my thought when they announced this movie was, ooh, how are you going to like transfer those game mechanics, that the focus of the video games, into this movie? And I don't want to say it's completely negated. I feel like there's some elements. I talked about Chica walking and all that, the security guard like slamming the doors and locking them, like those are like close, but they're not exactly the essence of those game mechanics. And if you figured out a way to just incorporate those things that are just more of the focus of the game, I think it plays a little better. I rather see one of the characters, like barricading himself in, like running to this door. Oh, there's one there. Lock it, close it, lock it. Run to the other door. Oh, there's one there. Close it, lock it. Like that's how the game is. You're like, oh, stop, no, stop, that kind of thing. You're very hyperactive in that sense. And in this one, it's like, oh, one of them's gonna kill you, and that's kind of it. So it's not a bad thing, right? It was good. I said they gave me everything I expected to get. And then I still am thinking we'll get more going forward. I want to see something that will kind of blow the minds of the fans and the fandom. Things that you didn't anticipate were going to happen, all that kind of good stuff. The final
Well, I mean, it
scene
leaves. Yeah,
of
that's what I was gonna say.
yeah, one of the final scenes is from one of the books. It's in the game where the man in the yellow suit, he dies from the spring locks in the suit. It happens in the game, and then in one of the books, you see that scene play out where the animatronics are dragging him off. So one thing I teased at the beginning of our video is the games started first, and then the books kind of came around, and they're still continuing, and now we have a movie. And if you just look at the video games and you look at the books are an exaggeration, an interpretation of what happens in the video games. And now that we have this movie, it almost feels like the video game is an exaggeration or a different interpretation of what happens in the movie. So it's kind of like the game of telephone. You tell somebody something and it kind of changes a little bit, and you tell that person, tell somebody something, and that changes a little bit more. It kind of feels like that. I think the movie, and this is just me throwing out stuff, I don't have any evidence yet because it's one movie, right? I think the
Yeah.
movie might be the literal story, and then the video games are a slight variation of that, interpretation of that. We don't get all the pieces in the video games. We get bits and pieces, and the further you go along, and then the books are just a wild interpretation of what happens in the games in the movie. So if you read the books, I haven't read them all. If you read the books, you might get a wild version of what's going to happen. And so keep reading them and kind of have that in the back of your head, or have that in your mind, like where the movies might go after that. If I was Blumhouse, I would greenlight a sequel tomorrow and just start developing it, you definitely need, I say, a writer who's talented enough. It's not me. Talented enough to not only incorporate some of the lore, but also write um, more of a horror movie than what this was. I think Five Nights at Freddy's, the movies, should lean more horror than they do the video games. Man, this is just a challenge. It's just a challenge. It's a big challenge to kind of do a solid version that maybe will be appeasing everybody, but you don't have to. If this made the money it did and it's aimed towards a younger audience, do it. Keep doing it going forward, and you'll be fine.
Well, you got to factor in too. You got to think about it. Half of it's on. It's already the same time it came on theaters. It also came available on streaming.
Oh,
So can you
100%.
imagine how much? Yeah, can you imagine how much it would have made if it was straight theater and not both? It'd probably be in the 200, 300 right now if it wasn't available on streaming.
I mean, I'm not a executive at Universal Pictures or Blumhouse, but I'm like, I'd be shooting myself in the foot, in the foot, right? I mean, that's what they did. They shot themselves in the foot. I would be disappointed because, yeah,
No, but
you
they're
could have
taking that
had
chance. They
another.
didn't know.
I don't think so, man. This franchise is like 10 years old, I think, and this movie's been in development for 8 years. Maybe ticket sales weren't great, but I think people are just busy. And
But
but
dude,
it
look at Cowboy Bebop.
would have hit
Perfect
150
example.
million worldwide easily.
Yeah,
Buck
but look at
50.
Cowboy Bebop. Like I said, that one people were anticipating that one that it was gonna do great, and it bombed on Netflix. And then
I don't know
people,
how it bombs though, because I don't think we know what the numbers are on Netflix, and
true, but
the way I don't know their formulas. I think I heard somewhere that Netflix determines the value of a series by the number of new subscribers it gets, or something like that.
see, that's kind of dumb. Then
Well, see, but I don't know if I got it wrong. I don't know if it's a straight viewership or if it's new subscribers. And it's like I've been a subscriber since day one. I'm probably never going to cut Netflix just because I'm a lifer, and so like I'll watch anything. But I don't know how they figure it out. Mindhunters never should have been canceled. Just saying that right now. Fantastic series. I don't know how much it costs, but only got 2 seasons of that, and what a cliffhanger.
well, I mean,
Anyways,
that's why I said it's kind of
I
like they're
digress.
taking that risk. They're taking that risk. You know, like a perfect example as well too. One Piece. One Piece. These are two big animated series that have a huge following. I'm a person who's never read the anime stories for. I read Cowboy Bebop. I read the Cowboy Bebop one back in the day because it was back when I grew up. Um, I thought it was decent, but a lot of people didn't like it. One Piece, I never read any of it because there's too much to read, too much to watch. I'm actually intrigued from the new series on Netflix. So it's like when you're putting something out like that, you have to. It's kind of hard because you want to get the new audience, but then you also want to please the current audience, and you kind of have to meet that medium in the middle kind of thing to try to take care of both. You're not always going to make everybody happy, but at least try to find that balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And
agree.
with this one, for someone who never played the games, who never read the graphic novels, I liked it. And like I said, it left me thinking little things in my mind. Okay, the daughter laying in the ICU bed, him saying, "We're here for you." Those little things, and then the very end with the balloon boy catching the cab. That was like, okay, what the, you know what I mean? Left you kind of going, what the hell is going on? So it made you mind think, or for me it did, and it made me want more. Like I want to know what happens. How long am I gonna have to wait to find out what happens to the daughter if she ever wakes out of the coma? And you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But that's just me. That's how I took it.
no, I get it, man. Um, I suppose. Oh, am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay, my computer went into like sleep mode. I suppose that's it. I don't know if there's anything else to talk about. Love the sort of the score. I think the score was pretty cool. Um, I mean, I think it's a great first step. Like I mentioned, the actors in this film, I think they were cast great. Josh Hutcherson, I think he's perfect for this role.
Oh
Matthew
yeah.
Lillard, I could have used a little bit more of. We talked about that, kind of like, the bad guy, him being around a little bit more. I think that would have helped a little bit. And he doesn't have to be attacking um, our heroes, right? Our main characters. But if Matthew Lillard's character is like out there attacking other people, then we at least know, like, hey, there's something sinister going on. There's still this man or this thing. We don't know if it's a man yet. This thing, this yellow bunny that's going around abducting or killing people. That kind of thing like would have helped a little bit. I think that would have been good. I still want to know how the the Freddy animatronic got all the way to their house. Because we saw how he got back. He got back in an Uber. But how did he get there? That's a question I want to know. Or was he always
Uh,
there? Interesting.
yeah. Like so, if you have an opportunity, if you had to watch it in streaming or theater, I guarantee you, my recommendation is watch it on the big screen. I watched it in both. I really enjoyed it more on the big screen than I did on the streaming. Now, mind you, I have a 72 inch. 72 inches is not as big as what they have now, but that's a big screen I got.
Sure.
And the theater was way better. The surround sound was, intense. So if you get a chance, go watch it in theaters. Um, and then you can watch it again at home after you watch it in the big screen.
And shout out to Universal Pictures who did invite us
Yeah.
and people who follow us on social media to the screening in our hometown. So we got to take or invite many of our followers to join in on the festivities. And I will say, like, I've been to like 100 of these now, and this one sticks out because usually they just have this picture on the screen, right? You've been to them. There's just a picture on the screen. You wait till the movie starts. Not this one. They had this ominous music playing, while we were waiting. I mean, we were sitting down for a half hour, and this ominous music is playing. And then when we got to about 10 minutes before, it got more intense. The music got more intense. I'm like, oh, dang. They're really. It's those little details because you know how this goes. Like, nothing happens until the movie starts. But for the music to start getting more intense, it's building up to something. And so they really went out of their way to kind of make this a very unique experience. So thank you for that. I think it was great. Keep doing what you're doing. And if you need a few more people to kill in your next movie, come give me and Ray a call, and we'll help you guys out. How about that? And if you guys watching right now want to join us at a future screening, we have a couple of movies that we're going to be giving away advanced passes to. Be sure to follow us on Facebook as well as subscribe to us on YouTube so you can be notified when those passes drop. We got a bunch of films coming out before the year ends, and we're going to be giving away advanced screening passes to all the big ones. All of them. All right, and that'll do it for this episode of the Geekcast. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram as well. A lot of great campaigns that we're going to be doing, some charity things. If you're in the San Antonio area and you are familiar with the San Antonio Ghostbusters, our team is going to be over at Andretti's Indoor Karting and Racing this Friday for the unveiling of the Ecto 1 virtual reality Blitz game. It's a racing simulator where you're in a flying Ecto 1 from the Ghostbusters movie. How cool is that? Also, your chance to win a Proton Pack replica just by playing the game. So come out, have a great time, and come meet the Ghostbusters San Antonio. It's going to be a blast. And that'll do it for us. My name is Ted, aka Steady, and joining me on this Five Nights at Freddy's movie review is the one and the only Retro Ray.
Hey guys. Also, don't forget, join us Saturday. Countdown to the Geekcast will be at the official San Antonio street art event, the largest outdoor gallery in San Antonio.
There you go.
It'll be so it's going to be on Saturday, November 4th, from 4 o'clock until 9 o'clock at night. There's going to be a bunch of artists out there, food trucks. We're going to be out there. Come by, say hi to us. I'll be there at the booth. Ted will probably swing by and meet the crew.
For more details on both the Friday, November 3rd Ghostbusters event and the Saturday, November 4th gallery event, be sure to check us out on social media on Facebook. Why don't you? Countdown City Geeks. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great night. See you soon.